Welcome to another hard-hitting edition of Trust Tuesdays. Dave Morris here in the Oklahoman's video studio alongside this gentleman right here, Sean Rose. He's with the Better Business Bureau of Central Oklahoma. Sean, great to see you.
Great to see you as always.
What have you done with your boss, Kit Letcher? She usually joins us on monthly conversations.
Yeah, so it's like, where in the world is Kit Letcher right now?
Literally, right?
Yeah, so she's actually in Scotland.
Good for her.
Enjoying some R&R.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, last time I think I saw on Instagram she was by a big castle or something. And
Scotland has a lot of fantastic castles.
Exactly, so she's in the right place. But yeah, she's out there and she'll be back later this week.
Well, since she is gone, ransomware has hit the headlines, if you will. Came out on Friday that this big global ransomware was attacking Microsoft systems basically around the world, and that became an issue.
Right.
And that's what one of the things you're here to talk about today is ransomware, along with it's May in Oklahoma, which means probably going to get some storms. There could be some scammers wanting to fix your roof, wanting to fix who knows what.
Yeah.
To scam you. Sean's here to provide some tips. But let's start with that ransomware and cybersecurity, and what do we know at this point?
So basically, like, what we know is that it hit more globally than it did in the U.S.
Can we blame Kit for this?
We can,
Okay.
because she's not here,
She's
so
not
she
here.
can't defend
She's
herself.
in a global environment.
It was Kit's fault. It was a cute cat meme, and she just forwarded it on. Just started this whole thing.
You joke, but that's kind of one of the things that you may get something in your email you probably shouldn't be clicking just randomly.
Exactly, yeah. So normally the emails come in as different attachments or something that says, there's an attachment and it says something to the effect of, hey, make sure you check this out, or here's an invoice or a bill or a document or whatever.
Something that might attract your attention that you think, hey, this really does pertain to me.
Exactly, and then you'll trust the sender because you just look, it's like the vanity plate on the email, so if they're in your address book, it'll just pop up as, oh, this is Dave Morris at the Oklahoman or whatever.
As a trusted person, I believe that this email is valid.
Absolutely. And then you open it and it's a virus. And so it locks up your computer and it says, you have to pay X amount of dollars by, so sometimes there's a time limit. In this case, in this instance, an attack, there was definitely a time limit. And it said you had to pay essentially $300 in this anonymous virtual currency by the end of the day or something like that. And if you didn't, your computer, your files are gone.
It was critical, and again, back to the global thing, because it hit a lot of hospitals, I believe, in Europe, in Great Britain for sure, which is kind of critical if your emergency health files are suddenly compromised.
Exactly.
And it did ask for $300, as you mentioned, in currency in Bitcoin. And I believe I heard at this point $50,000 to $60,000 perhaps had been paid. Not a huge amount by the amount of people infected with this, but perhaps people didn't expect the infection to grow as fast, as widely as it did.
Exactly.
However, it did.
Yeah, it was about, I think it was at 150 countries and about 200,000 computers. And it was just amazing how fast it just, it grew exponentially every minute.
All right, any cases of ransomware here in Oklahoma?
Not on this attack, no. Because there was, like I said, it was a lot more in Europe, and then the U.S. didn't necessarily get impacted as bad, and we're still kind of waiting to see, what the extent of the damage, if you will, was here. But previously, in the past, yes, there's always been issues with ransomware, malware, different things like that. And it's always kind of something that a lot of people here might not be as technologically savvy.
Sure.
So they'll be very confused as to, well, why is this? What's happening? And then they start cluing in on, oh, this is basically a ransom, and my computer's being held up. And a lot of people, especially I'm thinking of 3 or 4 different specific cases here, were parents that had pictures of children who had passed away on their computer.
You want those back.
Yeah, and and that's just a heartbreaking thing. I think one person was taken for like $1,200. Another person was taken for $500. It's horrible kind of thing to happen, but it's something that definitely does happen.
What do the authorities advise on this? And perhaps I'm asking a question that neither one of us have the expertise to answer. Do you typically pay? Do they alert the authorities? What steps?
What we always recommend is, most of the times, if there is a local trusted business that does computer technological interactions, device, software, whatever, and they'll have the ability to go and unlock your computer. So we always recommend go to bbb.org, probably on your smartphone. Check out, look for a technological service company, take your computer to them, and see if they can get it unlocked for you, because sometimes there'll be those techno wizards that can get that done.
Very nice. What other services and advice does the Better Business Bureau offer in cases of ransomware and other viruses?
Yeah, we always recommend you keep your computer updated. A lot of people are like, oh, I'll just install that update later. If you're leaving the office or you're going to bed, start the update. Go ahead and make sure all your software is updated, your pop-up blockers on your internet. You're not just blindly opening emails from email addresses. Anytime I get an email, I still check and see who the email address is that sent it to me before I open any attachments to it, because that's really something that people just kind of overlook, especially when it's masquerading as a vanity email from somebody else. Like 2 weeks ago, I was saying I got an email from a reputable company here from somebody I correspond with regularly with a Google Doc attachment, and that was when the Google Doc ransomware bit was going on. So I almost opened that up. But you always want to make sure you're aware and you're more well-versed in just being more aware.
Being a little skeptical.
Absolutely, yeah. Skepticism kind of helps pay off a little bit sometimes.
You know, here at the Oklahoman, we just went through some training. Actually, I believe the training is ongoing, of tips of what you can look for, how to keep your computer secure. If you're stepping away from your office, either shut it down, log out, or something like that. Keep your devices secure. But then also there was some things to look at. Check the HTTP address and your URL. So internally, we're going over that. This is something the Better Business Bureau offers. Advice, training to local businesses or individuals.
Absolutely, yeah. It's called the 5 Steps to Better Business Cybersecurity, and it's the National Institute for Cybersecurity Training framework. And we went and built a curriculum presentation that we can come give at your office. We'd be happy to host it at our office and have handouts, information, and we'll have experts on hand to answer any really technical questions. But it helps small to medium-sized businesses basically get a better understanding of, here's what you need to do to make sure your network is secure. Here's what you need to do to make sure your consumer information is secure. And here's some different things that could happen that not a lot of businesses are like, oh, I never knew. Like, for instance, if you left a laptop in a car and the car gets broken into and taken, well, what steps do you take after that? So it's all really good, useful information.
Good stuff there. You can learn more information at the Better Business Bureau website, bbb.org, which leads us to some scams. It is May. Thunderstorms are in the forecast pretty much weekly here. You may have some storm damage, and that leads to people perhaps knocking on your door saying, hey, I see you need some limb removal or you need a roof repaired. While that may be convenient, probably not a great idea.
Yeah, we always advise to kind of take caution when it comes to door-to-door sales. A lot of municipalities here locally require certain licensing or permitting. And the first thing you would always ask for is that. Make sure you're more aware of what your local regulations are. And then the other big thing is, in the event that you are impacted by storms or do have damage, always call your insurance company first, because they're going to be able to respond with, okay, we're either going to have to send out an adjuster before any work is done. Here's what your plan covers. Here's what you need to be looking for, or here are some companies that we might work with locally that you should check out.
Perhaps the people coming by are just one-off people. Here's Dave and his pickup. It's going to help out, earn some cash. Perhaps they're from out of state and they are reputable. However, the idea is still contact your insurance, go through the proper channels.
Right, and then when you're actually going through and selecting different roofers or repair companies, we always, again, recommend going to bbb.org. Check out some of our accredited businesses, because these are people who are locally based, locally operated, and that won't essentially take your money and then be gone overnight. Because when you have a fly-by-night roofer, you can never really be sure whether or not that person's going to stick around, and they always say, hey, pay me the whole balance up front, which we always say don't do.
You guys actually recommend on payment less than that, 30%, I believe.
Absolutely, yeah, no more than a third, because that way it gives them basically the amount that they might need to order the materials and supplies, and then start doing the work, and you can make sure that the work is done to your expectations and to your satisfaction.
You can find more information on the Better Business Bureau Disaster Resource Center. I like the title there, bbb.org/Oklahoma City/disaster. One thing before I let you go, Sean, a couple months ago there was that phone call scam going on where you get it and they're like, I can't quite hear you. Is this Dave Morris? And if you say yes, perhaps they're recording that and then using it. I got that call just last week.
Really?
So it's still apparently circulating.
Yeah, and I think now it's taken on a travel kind of theme to it. So it's like, hey, you stayed at one of our resorts. I literally got the call yesterday, again, and it's always Adam saying you stayed at one of our hotels or venues, and we wanted to reward you with some more stuff. I'm like, well, that's nice, Adam. And you start talking to them, and they don't talk to you because it's a recording. It's like, okay, not really well thought out, but great.
So to back up on this, what do you advise people? What should they be looking for if they get this one-off phone call?
So when you get the call and you say yes, then probably right after that you realize, oh, It's the can you hear me scam. What we have found is actually that more people that were losing money were losing it because after they said yes, they would start asking them different information. Like on Adam, he'd ask me my payment information for being able to pay for the deposit or the security costs or whatever, and they would give him social security number, bank account information.
Jeez.
Yeah, and it's essentially, it's like, I don't even give that to my mom on the phone,
No.
so why would I ever, But basically what you want to do is you want to make sure, if you say yes, you're not necessarily, out of luck there.
Okay.
Make sure that you don't give them any more information after that.
Always a wealth of information, whether it's coming from Sean Rose or Kit Letcher. We appreciate our friends over at the Better Business Bureau looking out for us and looking out for you. It's Trust Tuesdays. You find it every month here on newsok.com. Sean, great job. Great to see you.
Thank you. Always a pleasure.
Appreciate the information. Again, more information at Better Business Bureau's website, bbb.org.